Hello and welcome to A Little Crafting. My name is Annie and this is my bi-weekly podcast where I talk about all the things that I've been making over the last couple of weeks. Although apologies, recently it's not been bi-weekly, it's been a bit longer since I last recorded, just because of holidays and life stuff in general. I am recording this from Surrey, which is in the southeast of the UK, just southwest of London, and you'll find me talking about knitting, weaving, yarn dyeing and sometimes sewing as well, although not so much recently. Today is the 12th of March and you can find me on Instagram as a_little_crafting and on Ravelry as Ankiwoo if you'd like to follow me on social media. So I'll start off with what I am wearing, and I absolutely love this top. So this is the Jupiter crop, which is a pattern by Caitlin Hunter, who's also known as Boyland Knitworks. It was my favourite make of 2020 and I knit it out of several different colours of Dorerum Natura Ulysse, which is an organic merino yarn from France. There are loads of different colours in here, but I'll try and remember all of them. So the pink one is Confiture de Rose, the blue one is Ciel, the light pink is Quartz, the white is Poivre Blanc, and I think the dark blue, which I've got as a base, is Tempête. And it's an absolutely lovely colour work top that I'm just wearing with high-waisted jeans today, but normally I'd probably wear it with like a light blue shirt underneath, and then maybe with a skirt as well. So yeah, really lovely pattern. I like the fact that it looks kind of like stained glass, and I love the colours I've chosen. I would knit this one again. It was super fast, so highly recommended if you are happy doing a full-on colour work top. So yeah, that's what I'm wearing, and I think it might not be my favourite knit, but it's first or second pretty much. In terms of wearability, it's not quite as wearable as other patterns that I've made, like the Georgetown cardigan by Hannah Fettig, which I wear constantly. But as it's coming into spring, kind of the shorter sleeves are a bit better now. I'm definitely feeling spring-like today. The sun's been out and I've been doing some spring cleaning as well. So let's get started on actual knitting projects at the moment. And if you follow the podcast quite a bit and you watched the last episode, you'll know I was knitting the Bolton Pass Hat, which is a pattern by Espace Tricot. And here it is all finished off. So you can see, so it has this kind of triangular point on the front. See if I can show you a bit better, like that. It's puckering a little bit there. I think that's because of the decreases on the top. But yeah, it's a really simple pattern. It's a free pattern. I thought it looked quite attractive, but also, you know, like a wardrobe staple would be, where it's got a little bit of interest, but it's not, you know, super busy or anything like that. I've knit this out of Garthenor Beacons yarn in the Basalt colourway, and it took less than 50 grams of that yarn. That yarn comes in 50 gram skeins and it is absolutely lovely. I would definitely knit with this yarn again. I can't remember off the top of my head what the yarn content is, but I'll make sure to add it in the description below with anything else I talk about in this episode, so that you can check if you're interested. So yeah, really happy with this yarn, happy with the hat, but it won't be for me because I have quite a small head. You can't really get the most out of the detail on this really lovely pattern. So basically the top of the point gets a bit lost when I put it on. So it will be for someone else, but I don't know who yet. And yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed knitting it and would make another one if I find a home for it. So yeah, that is one finished object for this week. As I said, I've been quite busy with holidays and life stuff. So I haven't actually got any other finished objects to show you today, but I do have some works in progress that are kind of carrying on from last episode as well. So the first one I'm going to talk about is probably the project I've made the most progress on, and that one is the Pradera Wrap, which is a pattern by Jocelyn Tunney, and it is being kept in my lovely hide and hammer bag in the berry colourway. The Pradera Wrap is a free pattern again. It is, I think, designed for Manos del Uruguay, and it is a chevron scarf basically. The idea of it is that you can kind of marl colours all the way along, but as I had a 24 mini skein advent calendar to use up, I thought I would just fade my advent calendar throughout the scarf. I had an advent calendar from Beehive Yarns, which was the cozy and warm advent calendar, and I opted for the DK weight skeins because I thought that would actually be more usable for me. I don't actually use that much fingering weight yarn, so I thought if I had the DK I might be able to use it a bit better, but it is designed as a fade, so it fades through the colours. This is a really easily memorisable pattern, but it adds that little bit of interest that it's not just kind of a straight scarf, so you're not just knitting back and forth, you're doing a little bit of thinking, but you don't have to look at the pattern after the first section. So I'll show it off now. I did show it off in the last episode as well, but I have got a bit further, so I'll show you all the colours that I've got. So working from day one, and this is kind of the back point of the chevron, so you'll see these 2 points kind of that way. So yeah, this was day one, then day two, and day three. Where am I? Yeah, day three finishes here, day four, day five, day six, day seven, day 8, day 9, and I have just started day 10. So if I hold it back here, you can kind of see how it looks. So yeah, it's this lovely kind of chevron point all the way along. Yeah, so it starts off here. Yeah, and it is going to be enormous, as mentioned last time. So I'm loving the kind of fade into the orange and the browns now. Yeah. So I've done a fair bit of work on this. It was really nice and easy when I went skiing to just take this with me because I didn't have to look at a pattern, and I could just sit down even if I was tired and just knit a few rows. And let me hold it like this and then you can actually see the chevron as I talk about it. And yeah, I'm on colour 10 now, so I'm almost halfway through. So I'm thinking about the length of this and going, okay, so it'll be 2 more chevrons, or yeah, two more chevrons after this one, so 3 more chevrons, and then it will be double that. So it's going to be huge, but it's going to be absolutely lovely, and it will be the first advent calendar that I've had where I actually use up all of the skeins in one project, and also actually use up all of the skeins because I've still got an advent calendar sitting just behind my camera actually from 2 years ago that I have not used a single skein from because I was saving it for a specific project. So yeah, I'm really happy to have done this and opted to just start knitting something like this rather than trying to save up the skeins for something else. So yeah, really happy with that. It's definitely my mindless knit at the moment, and therefore I'm picking it up quite a lot whilst I'm very busy. So there we go. And yeah, highly recommend if you want to marl anything together into a scarf, or if you have a load of mini skeins that you want to use. I'm sure you could effectively make this out of fingering weight yarn. You might just have to go down a few needle sizes. So yeah, absolutely loving it at the moment. And you can see I have a bit of a colour theme going on here. As per usual, I like to match my bags with everything I'm wearing. So yeah, that is project or work in progress number 1. The next one is another one that I also mentioned on the podcast last time, and that is my Weekender by Andrea Mowry, which is a super popular pattern. I am knitting it in Durerem Natura Gilliat, which is the worsted or Aran weight version, I can never remember which, of the Ulysse, which I used in here. So I used the Ciel for the light blue there, so it's the same colour, same kind of yarn, but a thicker weight of yarn. So I am keeping this in my antler and acorn bag with my lion on it, and I am making progress on this, but not very quickly. And the reason is that I think it might be too big already. So yeah, the Weekender sweater has basically reverse stockinette all over it. So you knit it inside out. So the way that I've got it showing here will actually be the inside, and the outside will be the reverse stockinette. But I am thinking that, actually let me hold it up a bit more so that it's difficult to tell because the cable that I'm knitting on is obviously going to be affecting it a little bit, but at the moment it's like that on me, and I'm thinking that's gonna be, once I block and wash this, it's gonna possibly look like a sack of potatoes. I know this is the bottom and it's supposed to be a super cozy sweater, but I'm a bit concerned, like I said, that it'll look like a sack of potatoes on me if it's too big. I think that's the difficulty with the really big cozy things, is that because it's like that box shape, there's a danger that if you make it slightly too big, it just looks awful and unflattering. So I am toying with maybe ripping this out and casting on the extra small rather than this small. I tend to knit at a loose gauge in general, although I did swatch for this and go down needle sizes accordingly, but it could be that that's not enough, so it's better for me to just go down a size and hopefully it'll be a better fit for me. What I will do in the meantime, and the reason that I'm thinking I pause this for now, is actually wash this and block it and see how it changes, because if it turns out that it kind of cinches in because the length pulls down, then it might be better. But I know from having knit quite a lot out of Pradera Natura Gilliat that it will stretch a bit. So yeah, beautiful, beautiful colour. I have been wanting to knit something out of this colour for so long, and I think this will be a great sweater when I have worked it out and finished it off eventually. I can't remember what the pattern asks for, but I'm knitting this on 4mm needles, so fairly small needles for the type of yarn that I am using. What I'm not looking forward to though is doing the tubular cast on again because I had enough trouble with it the first time. The thing is that I have got the hang of it now, so I'm hoping that next time it will get easier, and then after that it'll be much easier every time I need to do this cast on again. So yeah, that is where I am with that one. Sorry, not much progress. I am deliberating, thinking about it. I'll see what I do. Yeah, so that is work in progress number 2. The third one is another sweater. So this is the Altheda by Jennifer Steingass, and this is something that I've been knitting on for quite a while. I actually started it in November, but I'm getting there with it. It has this beautiful colourwork yoke, as with a lot of Jen Steingass patterns, and I've chosen to use the yarn that she actually used for her sample, which is Plotulopi by Istex. And this is an unspun roving yarn made out of Icelandic sheep wool. So it looks like this when it's in its kind of plate form. and I've shown it before, but it does break fairly easily if you just tug. But when it's actually knit up, it forms obviously a sturdy fabric that then is all good when it's kind of like that. So yeah, I really love the yoke pattern on this. I am slightly concerned about the itch factor, but I can always wear things underneath so that it's not next to my skin. I'm thinking neck and chin might be an issue. And I'm gradually working my way down the body now. So lots of stockinette. I mentioned previously that I found the colour work quite slow because I was worrying about tugging the yarn too much and breaking it. But I have started to pick up some speed on the normal stockinette section. So I am steaming ahead a little bit more, and I think I'll get the body finished fairly soon now because I've got that momentum going. And yeah, I'm overall pretty happy. I'm knitting the kind of second smallest pattern, and I think it will look absolutely fantastic when it's done. The yarn colours are Ash Heather is the grey, and I think the blue is Galaxy. So it's this really lovely kind of deep blue. I actually feel like I maybe should have decided to do this the other way around because I'm so in love with the blue as a colour. So yeah, really happy with it so far. I have knit a few Jen Steingass patterns before, so I am very comfortable with just going for a size that I think will work. And yeah, I have a few more planned as well, but yeah, I love these colourwork yokes, and I think this will be a really lovely wardrobe staple because it will be grey, so it'll be nice and neutral for me to wear with whatever I want. Maybe just chuck on with some jeans, be perfect. I am also keeping this in this lovely bag, which fits all sorts of stuff and loads of these plates that I've got. So that's the gorgeous blue. And this one was made by my friend who is Throw and Thread on Etsy, and I'll link to her in the description below as well. So yeah, getting there with that. Hopefully have the body done soon, and then I'll be on to the sleeves. It will be interesting to see how this knits up on a smaller circumference, and whether I'm slower again at knitting it. So there you go, all tucked away in there. That's everything in terms of knitting that I have to show you, but I have been doing some other things in the last couple of weeks. So obviously I went skiing on holiday, but then I came back and I did do some yarn dyeing as well. So I was asked by a friend of mine if I would dye a gradient of kind of based on a picture of the Northern Lights, basically. And I have now wound this up into a ball, but it was based on a sock blank. So a sock blank is a piece of knitted fabric that is already knit up that you can then dye in sections. So it's much easier to create kind of striping or a gradient effect with that. You can't see very well, but the majority of the gradient is green, and then it changes to blue, then purple, then pink at the end. So yeah, you tend to get this slightly speckled effect from a sock blank because it's already knit up very tightly. So it means that some of the dye doesn't get onto the yarn itself because of the kind of really tight knit and crossovers between the strands. So yeah, that's what it looks like at the moment. I will also pop a picture here of what it looks like in its original form after I dyed it, so that you get an idea of how it's going to look knit up. But she is going to be knitting the Alaska hat and potentially a cowl to go with it, because this is quite a lot of yarn relative to what she needs. But I'm hoping that it will look absolutely gorgeous in whatever she makes. along with that, I had some leftover dye, not of the green but of the other colours, so I ended up just kind of splashing them in onto my own sock blank, and I ended up with this gorgeous gradient too. So yeah, blue, which I've got in the centre here, was actually the most, and then purple and pink towards the end, and I think it looks beautiful. You can see here that I had less dye, so it ended up with more white within that that dye. And then with that, I also threw in a skein of this alpaca and silk lace weight yarn, which I'm not sure what to do with, but please do suggest anything in the comments below if you'd like to. So this has turned out absolutely beautifully. I mistakenly ordered this rather than basically Surrey silk fluff from the company that I buy undyed yarn from, which is actually yarnundyed.net. But I think it looks beautiful, and I'll figure out a way of using it in something. You could tell I'm channeling these colours at the moment, the pink and the blue, because it matches what I'm wearing. So yeah, let me know if you have any ideas about what to do with this. I was thinking of holding it double with some fingering weight and seeing what kind of effect that had. So I might end up swatching and showing you the result of that later on. With that, I always end up putting in some mini skeins. So a couple that went in with my friends are these two. So you can see the pink and the purple a bit more in there, but they are primarily green as well because they went in the same dye bath. And then I also had some pink, some very, very light baby pink that I might over dye with something else to see if I can make a different colour. And lastly, I wanted to use up some of the leftover dye stock I have from other things that I've dyed previously. And there was a colourway that I made when I was testing burnt orange called Not Burnt Orange because it wasn't the right colour. And I made quite a lot of that dye stock. So what I've ended up doing is putting a whole load of that into a dye bath and then adding my absolute favourite Jacquard acid dye colour, which is gunmetal, which just changes everything. Basically I add it to every single dye recipe I make up because it's really good at adjusting colours. So what I ended up with from the very, very orange colour is this lovely pink, and it's blowing out a bit. This is on non-superwash yarn as well, so it'll be more muted than it would be on superwash. And it's kind of a very sort of antique pink colour, if that's the word. My grandmother in France would have called it vieux rose. It's, yeah, really, really nice. And these skeins are going to be mine. I'm going to knit a shawl probably with them. They're DK weight, and I just want a DK weight shawl at the moment. So yeah, that is the end of my my dye session. That was what came out, and I was so chuffed with this colour. I really hope I can reproduce it with the other recipe and then adding a bit of the gunmetal in future. It's the first time I've actually finished off a pot of Jacquard acid dye, so I'm really glad that I had a bit. I had anticipated that and ordered another pot to allow me to continue using that. But yeah, if you're ever starting out kind of acid dyeing yarn, it is a really great colour to just add a bit of tone to something as well, or darken something. So for example, the purple that I've got here, if you add gunmetal, you might have kind of a much deeper plum colour. Moving on to a little bit about acquisitions. I have only got one acquisition at the moment because ultimately I am not really buying any yarn. I have realised I have way too much and I need to use it all before I get to, or use a lot of it before I am allowed to buy any more. But I am a subscriber to the Knitter magazine. and I wanted to show you a couple of the patterns in here because I think it's really good value for what you get. So there is actually, in this one, a full-on colour work dress, and I'm really tempted, but I know I have way too much on my plans at the moment as well. So I'm just going to try and show you this. There you go. Doesn't that look beautiful? I love the way the skirt is constructed, just because it's sort of like a box skirt, I think, where it's kind of got lovely pleats, and I really want to sew myself a skirt, but the knitted skirt looks amazing. Maybe I could just do the skirt actually. I think it's in finger weight yarn, so it'd take me an absolute age to complete that. Yeah, 4-ply weight yarn. I can't pronounce the name. I think it's Podjantati. It's actually a pattern by Sari Nordland, which I hadn't noticed before, but she does make amazing, like really simple, wonderful patterns. So yeah, maybe I'll try and knit the skirt one day, but I have so much planned that I don't think I can just put everything on hold and knit a dress. I'd be knitting it forever. I mean, you know, think about my blanket, and that's in DK weight yarn. So yeah, I just wanted to show you that one. I also really like the cardigan that's on the cover. It's got really lovely texture detail down kind of the button bands. I am not sure about button-up cardigans for myself though, so I don't know whether I would make that one personally. But yeah, this is a great magazine. There's a lot of patterns in here, and it's, you know, retail, I guess, if you buy it from the shop, £6.99 if you know, buy it from newsagents or the supermarket. So yeah, pretty good value. I'm not sure, I can't remember how many patterns you actually get. Does it say on the front? But yeah, definitely a really great choice of patterns. Look at the Hera cardigan at the back. Ooh. Really beautiful. So yeah, I just wanted to show that off. And then lastly, in terms of things that I'm organising, I mentioned in my last episode that I was going to be planning a velvet Mirror KAL knit along. So I am going to set up a group on Ravelry. I have not yet even wound the yarn that I bought for this, which was from Botanical Yarns. It was a specific kit of Surrey alpaca and silk, and some fingering weight yarn to match. So I will probably give a good long time frame, and what I will do is, for those who are in the UK, you will get, I'll randomly select someone to win a skein of my hand-dyed yarn, and then for those abroad I'll choose some patterns that I can give away as well, so that you can still join in and have the opportunity to win something even if you're not actually from the UK. But what I'll put in the Ravelry thread is the instructions, so I'll say, you know, please post a picture of your finished object, and also say where you're from, which will really help me decide kind of which pot to put you in for the random drawing of the prizes. As much as I would love to send yarn around the world, it is unfortunately, due to Brexit, more expensive than I would like, and therefore I will have to leave it for now. But one day I might find that I have enough budget to ship yarn to Europe and the rest of the world. Thank you so much for watching me again, and thank you very much if you're a new viewer. Please do say hello in the comments. If you aren't already subscribed, please do subscribe. That really helps my visibility on YouTube. And otherwise, I will be back in a couple of weeks in terms of life stuff, I had a really great time skiing with my friends a couple of weeks ago. I've just had lots of work and other things going on. I think as stuff starts to open up following COVID, we're seeing more friends and more family, and just being very busy right now. So I haven't had that much time to knit, which is unfortunate because I do enjoy that. It will probably calm down a bit more in April, so I hope to have a bit more time to kind of plan different episodes and things to do as well. So yeah, thanks again for watching, and I will speak to you in a couple of weeks. Bye.